Welcome to the Sessions with Sessions podcast. My name is John, and we're riders from Sudbury, Ontario. Doing this live now, doing this on the YouTube. Hopefully you can see us, YouTube. Hopefully it's all coming together. We've made it to the big leagues, guys.
Yeah, camera angle's good.
Camera angle's good. We've got a fancy little light here. We got a stack of trainer boxes with a rag on top of it. So far, so good. So, today's episode 26, guys, and our first episode of the YouTube series. So cheers to that. I guess before we started off, I got obviously Todd here. This is Coach
hey
Todd.
Coach
the
Todd.
Todd father for anyone who hasn't officially seen Todd. And this is Mr. Evan Lowe.
Hi.
And I'm John. Most of you guys already know me. So before we get started, guys, I want to talk about a super cool thing we had going on. We have a collab. So we started working with the local distillery.
I'll be your booze model.
Oh yeah. We came out with their own collab. So working with Crosscut, a local distillery in Sudbury, to make a moonshine, cinnamon moonshine called Hard Packed. Pretty cool, very cinnamony, awesome flavor. So they're actually doing a gift basket now. So just in time for Christmas, you can get the Hard Packed booze, you get a gift card to the shop, you get a coupon for half price tune-up, and you get a super rad flask for $85. So pretty
super
sweet
rad.
Gift. But it's like super limited. That's going to be our only problem, guys. It's like there's not enough of them. That seems to be the overarching issue now, but it's okay. Once you're out, you just got to be quick enough to get there. So hopefully we edit this podcast in time to put it out that this is even remotely relevant.
Hopefully I can buy one before it goes out.
Yeah, before the
sells
podcast.
out.
Yes, exactly. But anyways, this will be your guys' first times trying it.
Yeah, I haven't tried this yet.
So cheers, guys.
Cheers.
To our first episode back.
Moonshine. Never had moonshine before.
That's like those cinnamon hearts.
It's like cinnamon hearts.
Oh my god.
It tastes a lot less like moonshine,
Nice.
a lot
Very
more like
Christmassy.
cinnamon hearts.
Super smooth too.
Yeah. So our first question, so we always put it out there for those of you guys, most of you guys already know this, but we put it out there on our Instagram for questions. If anyone has questions, you just send it to us. Usually the day we're recording, I'll put it out there and you can ask. We had Sean Browse. He asked if in the cold of winter, will the flask and the moonshine be enough to keep us warm? And I believe so. I believe this is the proper tool for keeping yourself nice and toasty. With your layers that we talked about last week in the cold of winter.
So the cinnamon adds a little bit of extra heat. It's like it's like a light fireball. If anyone's gotten drunk on fireballs before,
yeah, back in the
it's
high
like
school
fire.
days.
It's like
but it's not as intense.
Not
Yeah, it's
as
not as
intense.
intense, but still pretty good. So that brings us to I guess our conversation today, guys. We're talking about lights. So it's that time of year now. It's super dark, super early. Most of the time we're riding. We do it even in the summer sometimes.
Yeah.
We'll ride just to kind of get away from the heat. We'll ride at night. And to ride at night, you need lights. You need lights in the front. You need lights in the back. You need lights for lots of different reasons. But having lights is pretty important. We put it out there. I put the question out to you guys, and I got quite a few responses this time. A lot of which we're going to cover, but just so you guys know, we're not going to actually put the questions out there right out of the gate because it would pretty well cover everything we're going to talk about today. So, for starters, Todd, what kind of lights do you want on your bike?
I have two styles. One right there, the Duo. By far my favorite light. It comes with a separate battery. So if you want, you can get extra batteries to have. I've never run out of battery as of yet, so I haven't bought a second battery. Super bright, lots of modes. Has a little remote control that you can put on your bar to change the settings of the light. And then I have like a kind of strap similar to this style here. A couple different brands.
A handlebar light.
Handlebar light. So
that makes sense.
And I bought the handlebar lights because I had a gift certificate, and I figured it was good to have a backup. I barely use the handlebar lights. I usually go right to the Duo on my helmet.
I guess that brings us to our first point of conversation here, and actually one of our first questions. The difference between a handlebar light and a headlight. Evan, what do you prefer?
Oh, I prefer a headlight, 100%.
Headlight. And we're talking specifically for, I guess I should preface this. This is lights to see. We'll talk about lights to be seen in a second.
Yeah.
But if you want to see, a headlight, right?
Yeah, because I want to see where I'm going, and I tend to like turn my head to look where I'm steering to, rather than turn my bars to see where I'm going. So having a headlight, then I don't have to worry about what I'm turning into. Whereas if I had handlebar light only, I think it would be kind of sketchy making corners.
You can lose your light pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right? If you're coming over something, or even over a hill, or heaven forbid your tires ever leave the ground and you cannot any longer see the ground. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty well universal, right? You gotta have if you're gonna trail ride, you gotta have the light on your head.
Absolutely, absolutely, mandatory.
Yeah.
Commuting, you can get away with it on your bar because you're usually nice and steady pace on the road.
Yeah.
So
You're going straighter for a lot longer.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I guess we can start beyond that, guys, talking about lights to be seen, because that seems to be a lot of the point of conversation. People go into a shop and they see all these different lights, these high-powered lights and low-power lights, and we're going to be able to talk about the differences in a minute, but like the significantly lower-powered ones, you see these tiny little, almost like if you are on a video, you can see these kind of lights. It's like a 200 lumen, it's maybe 2 inches long, kind of light that you could definitely, it'll give you enough light that you can see the ground. But the most important thing about a light like this is the flashing mode, and the flashing mode is going to let cars see you coming.
Yep.
Right? It's more to be seen so that the car can see you, and those are super mega important on the back of your bike. Right? You guys both run rear lights.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't say enough about the one that I got too. It was gifted to me, and it's that Garmin one that.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah,
Varia?
like I can't remember what it's called.
the Varia?
The Varia.
Yeah, and it's like the best light ever.
Yeah. So tell everyone about the Varia.
Well, it connects to an app on your phone or on your Garmin, and without turning your head, you can see cars behind you. You know, like what speed they're coming at, how many there are. It has different flashing modes. It's big, it's bright, and I think it's even got like the Peloton mode. So if you're like leading and there's people behind you, it dims itself.
Yeah, it automatically senses what's behind you. So it's got a radar built in.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And like if you have your Garmin, it'll sync to your Garmin, or there's an app on the phone, and it'll give you kind of like a gauge behind you. So you have your Garmin screen that has all your like your speeds and all that stuff, and it highlights the sides, and the sides go red when there's a car coming up on you. And then as the car approaches, these little dots get closer. And then if the car turns off, it goes green again. Or if there's a second car behind it, you get 2 dots. I don't know how it sees 2 cars. Doesn't make any sense. And then there's a rider behind you. It sees through the rider behind you and sees the cars.
Yeah, it doesn't register the riders.
That doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it registers Brunetti.
If there's a couple riders together, I think sometimes it'll register them.
Yeah. But it's that, I mean, that light is, that's in a league in its own. Super, super, super cool lights. The other one, the one that we do quite a bit of, is actually, it's this guy here. It's from Light in Motion. Now the cool thing about this light, aside from the fact that it's made out of corn, so it's like super biodegradable and super hippie friendly, it turns itself on and off. So the thinking is, if you're riding your bike, especially for commuting, right? You ride your bike to the pub, or you ride your bike to work, or you ride your bike home. When you're done with your bike, you lean your bike up, and if it's a button battery, you're screwed, right? Because you're gonna leave your light on once, and then your bike's gonna be dead, and you gotta go find a new battery. If it's rechargeable, that's awesome because you can recharge it. But the only time you're ever gonna have to recharge it is when you grab your bike and you realize it's dead, and you're not gonna charge it right then. You're screwed, right? You gotta figure something out. So these guys, when you pull to a stop, right, or you stop for long enough, it'll turn itself off. And then when it senses vibration, it'll turn itself back on again. I think it's after like 2 minutes of standstill, it'll just turn itself off. So it's nice and easy. You don't have to, if you forget about it, any of that kind of stuff, it's nice and easy. It's always charged, and super, super easy to use. And they also have like a pulse and then a blink and all that kind of stuff. Lots of different features like that. So these guys have been pretty good for us. They also do a front light, so that's something we should note as well. Like there's similar things on the front, right? Like you do get like a flashing light or a pulsing light. You want something, again, these are just lights to be seen, so just something that gives you some visibility. Really, at the end of the day, that's all it is. You're not really looking to see the road because usually you have some kind of, you've got street lights. But, so if we're going past that, we're going back into our trail lights. Evan said he uses mostly a headlight. Todd, you said you use mostly a headlight.
Yep.
I'm pretty well the same. That's pretty universal. Now, what are your thoughts on external battery versus built-in batteries? Todd?
Definitely a fan of the external battery. Batteries can probably, for the life of the device, you can change the battery out. Where if it's contained in one unit and the battery starts to lose its life, then the unit itself is a little bit useless. They tend to have more power on an external battery, so you can get. I really like this Night Rider. It looks super dope. Headlamp. It's got 3 little LED thingies and a humongous battery with a strap that goes to your frame. So it's pretty good. But I think the external light is the way to go. Then, especially on your head, because then you're not. You can mount the external battery. You put it in your back pocket of your jacket or in any pocket you have. They usually come with long cords, so your head itself isn't carrying the weight of the battery,
It's
which
just so much
is
lighter.
so much lighter.
So much lighter.
When you get old and you have neck problems like me, then the less weight you're carrying on your noggin, the better.
Yeah, it's just so much comfier, right? You don't have that like the swing weight of like this massive thing on your head. I mean, Yuka runs it he runs this system, which is the Gemini system. So it has a light and then whatever, like a foot long cable and then the battery. And there's an extension so you can run it to your backpack. But the light weighs, I don't know, grams. The battery's simply heavier. Yuka straps it to his head. So like that's a lot of weight. That's like a ton of weight to have on you. So if you're running like a road bike jersey, a mountain bike jersey, a backpack, something like that, you can stash the battery in the pack or on your back, and then you can just run it on your head. Makes it so much easier.
Honestly, the thing that I like about the extendable cord on those, though, is being able to put it inside, like your clothing in the winter. Whereas Yuka has it on the back of his helmet, it's out in the cold. Like, it's that much harder on the battery. It's that much harder on the battery life.
That makes sense.
I like to keep them warm. So yeah, external for sure. Inside, whether it's heavy or not, keeping it inside is my choice, and that's why I would go external.
Makes sense. You can also get extra batteries, right? Which is a cool
exactly.
thing. Like, I remember so I've been running my Gemini Light forever. I have a 2-cell and a 4-cell. I actually have a super old Gemini Light. I've been using it for like 6 years. And what I've always done, especially when we were out west and we were doing a lot of like epic days where you're spending 8-10 hours on your bike, you would bring your battery, but then you have like a just in case something happens battery, right? And you like kind of like stash it in the bottom of your pack, and we carry these like super small 2-cell batteries, and you just put it in your pack, and it's like a just in case someone gets lost in the woods and you have to get your way out. Like, it's nice to have that extra battery. Whereas if you have a built-in light with battery, there's no ability to carry an extra battery. You have to carry a whole extra light unit, which is a total different thing. With that said, I mean, there is still a place. I do see a lot of people that'll run like a bar light and a headlight for maximum coverage, and I think that does make a lot of sense. I think, right? Like they talk about different like floods. Like if you run a flood on the bottom, so floodlight meaning like it's not a spotlight. It's not one small pinpoint. It's like it covers a reasonable size range, bigger degrees, and then your headlight being like beamed in. Yeah. I do hear that quite a bit. I've never done it. I've never been. Guys, and you will hear this if you come in and try to buy a light. I always tell people if you want to look at something, try looking at it. Right, like look at it with your face. If you're looking at stuff with your peripherals off to the side, I mean you might run into problems with headlamps. But as long as you're looking at stuff with your face, like you reasonably, if you're trying to see something, you'll see it by looking at it straight. But I can understand the like cornering. Maybe you want some extra peripherals, something jumping out of the bush or whatever. But you guys ever run both?
I've run both. And the bar light was usually a little bit dimmer, so I'd almost put it on there and I'd turn it off and I'd have it as a backup. So it's on my bar, and I had it as a backup. So I've done that before, and I've seen people with it's almost like a freaking light bar, and it's probably by Gemini.
It's by Gemini, yeah.
And
it's like four cells by side, yeah.
4 LEDs across. It is literally like a redneck light bar on a lifted truck. So, I could kind of see like, yeah, that'd be awesome to have it lit that much. But I find on the helmet with the Duo is good in the winter, and we should probably maybe now's not the right season to talk about it, but in the winter you'd actually need a lot less light because snow is white and it reflects. Yeah. So you generally don't need as bright of a light. But I think that light bar, it would come in like if you're doing night rides in the summer, it'd be awesome because it would just
You light up the whole trail.
And then you could, cook a smoky on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like in a perfect world, you'd have both, right? You'd have the floodlight on your bars, so that you can see like all the little small things like roots and holes and stuff that are going to come up on the trail, and then you'd have like on your helmet, you'd have like a spotlight where you'd be able to see further, so you'd see turns and I don't know, obstacles
now
whatever.
Now we're talking about like 5 pounds of lights on your bike.
I said in a perfect world.
In a perfect world. I mean, how slow are you going that you need to see every nook and cranny on the ground?
I'm going fast. That's why I need to see every nook and cranny.
It ain't no problem. They're like, what's on the other side of that log is not an issue when you're going fast. I think that's a slow person's problem, having maximum light.
Okay.
Right? They need street lights at that point, right?
Well, that's why I only got the one, right?
Yeah.
I don't have the light bar on my bike.
No, I'm with
But
you.
yeah, no. Like, I mean, you can have some that are like a spot, like they don't go very far.
Yeah.
And so if you're going fast, there's like always the fear that you're going to outrun your light sometimes.
So that's a really good segue to the next part here, lumens. So we hear about lumens all the time. Lumens are how they measure lights. I don't understand what the actual metric on lumen is, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't actually make sense. That's the thing that we really want to hit home here. I think it's the same thing we talked about last week actually with weights on base layers, where like it's only good to rate it within the company. So if Gemini makes a light and one of them's 500 lumens and one of them's 1,000 lumens and one of them's 2,000 lumens, all right, makes sense. 2,000 lumens is definitely stronger than the 500 lumen one. However, if you have a Magic Shine, a 3,000 lumen light, and a Gemini 2,200 lumen light, that Gemini is so much brighter than that Magic Shine. It's honestly ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the funny one, because you always hear everyone's got some friend that like went and picked some light up off Amazon or AliExpress, and they're like, bro, it's 6,000 lumens, but like somehow you take your 500 lumen light and you're shooting laser beams past them because like it's so much brighter. It is really the best way to know, guys, is to ask someone who already has the light, because there's no way to know what lumens are what, right?
What was Kelly's light?
Kelly had a Hope light.
Yeah.
It was freaking unbelievable.
It was
Matt
like,
Marsh has one of those too, and I was like kind of hoping Matt wouldn't take it because I wanted it. Dude, it's all CNC. So Hope is a CNC company, so it's all CNC aluminum. It's all like, it's unfreaking believable. And I think Kelly had the 4,000 lumen one. It was crazy.
It was like a lighthouse.
Yeah, you got to worry about burning trees down. Right?
I wonder how long the battery lasts.
He rode up behind me, and I had a light on, and I was still casting a shadow.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I gotta look, as an engineer, I'm thinking, okay, lumens should be a standard. If
But they're
it's
not.
on
It's like
everything.
anything. But it's like anything, right? Like there's no, who's the lumen police?
Yeah.
Right? Running
It's
around
not
checking everyone's
standardized,
lumens
yeah.
to make sure they're
CSA,
right.
that's what it should
That's
be.
the problem. It's like it's like waterproofing rating on jackets, right? Like it's no one's running around dumping water on the jackets and measuring how many millimeters come through it to like quantify. Like they all just say 5,000 millimeter waterproofing or like whatever 2,000 lumens. They're just arbitrary numbers to give someone a rough idea, but they're not even in the same. I guess they're kind of in the same genre, but like no.
I gotta Google that sometime. I'm gonna spend a little time on that this weekend.
All right, so you'll come back to us next week.
I'll come back to us next week with
okay.
proper
So
answer.
generally speaking, guys, and this is like a pretty obvious one. When you spend more, you get more. You get more brightness. It's the honest to God truth. So I do want to hit everyone with the numbers here, so we know. A good light, anywhere you dice it, like a good headlamp with an external battery, costs $500, right? And I know that's super surprising, especially to anyone who's come in the store and bought a light for a lot cheaper. It's not because the $500 lights are super expensive. It's because when you buy a light at $300, you're getting a good deal. It's really what it is. There's a select few companies who make a good light under $300. But generally speaking, so like you look at Hope, you look at Knight Rider, you look at Light in Motion, you look at any of the big companies who do like 2,000-ish lumen headlamp with external battery, they're all about $500. This Knight Rider we have in front of us here is $479. We've got a massive external battery, 2,200 lumen, and it's a real 2,200 lumen. Like it's real freaking bright. Comes with a case, comes with an extension cable, charger, all that kind of stuff. Super, super good. Then we got like the Gemini Duo, which is the light that everyone's riding here. This is the light. I mean, like, and I'm sorry guys, if you listen to this podcast now and you go into the shop and we're sold out, this is the problem. This light is almost too good for how much it costs. I think like $279, I think, or something like that, under $300. 2200 lumen light comes with a light cable, so an extension cable, comes with the 2-cell battery, comes with the mounts and everything you need, the charger. Then the kicker is it comes with the head strap. So it'll come with a harness for your head. If you're gonna go cross-country skiing or anything that you're not using a helmet, you can use, or even just like honestly looking through shit in my shed.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can use this light for that too. It's because it comes with its own harness. And then the last thing, it comes with the remote.
Yeah.
You guys use the remote?
I haven't used it for a couple of years. I kind of packed it away, but yeah, it's kind of a cool thing to have. But I don't know. There's a little button on the unit itself. I just end up pressing the button.
Yeah, there's a button on the back, so it's a high, medium, low.
So it does the same.
You can actually go in there and adjust the settings too. You can adjust how low your low is and how high your high is.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I should read the manual sometime.
Oh, yeah, you should. You should. But for anyone that's watching this on YouTube, I mean, this is why we're doing this on YouTube.
Because I'm unboxing this, because I thought this Night Rider, and I think it's the battery that makes the cost difference. I think the Night Rider battery is like, well, it's huge.
Yeah.
But I think it's more milliamp hours. So that anything battery powered, the milliamp hours in the battery is what you're paying for.
That makes sense.
So I think that's probably the. Don't get me wrong, the Gemini is a good deal, but I think it's in the battery. So
that makes sense.
Well, you get 4,000 versus, so you're getting 1,200 more milliamp hours.
Yeah.
So you're paying a couple $100 for.
But it's also like and a lot of it does come to the quality of the bulb
45% more
as well,
battery.
right? Like a lot of the bulbs, like you see some bulb, it emits like more of like a yellow light as opposed to more of a white light, and then some of the light will just go a little far. Like it like as far as just the bulbs itself, like they do make a big difference.
Yeah.
Like we see that like Magic Shine is a perfect example, and I can say this because we have Magic Shine now because I've been throwing shade at these guys for a while, but now that we have them, they're good. Like especially the price, they're $240, but like they're like if you have a Duo, and I guess we should explain this. If you're behind someone and you have a light, let's say it's the brightest light in the world, and someone has a light behind you and it's the brightest light in the world plus 10 lumens, all of a sudden you can't see. Because what it's going to do is it's going to cast a shadow in front of you because their light's brighter than yours, and it's going to like engulf you, and then anything in front of you, if you can imagine, your shadow is now in front of you, and all you can see in front of you is your shadow. And then when your eyes adjust to the light around you, it sees a darker space in front of you than beside you. Even though it's bright in front of you, your eyes can't tell the difference. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden you can't see anything. So that's like, the Magic Shines are great, but when you have a Magic Shine and someone comes up behind you with a Gemini Duo or a Night Rider, you can't see anything. Like literally nothing, man. Like you're blind.
You might as well not have a light.
You might as well not have a light. Yeah, you might as well have you got to rearrange yourself. You got to put the person with the brightest light in the front, which is funny because you would think you put the person with the brightest light in the back so they can like get the light out there. No, absolutely not. They need to be so far out front that they can't disrupt anyone else's lights. Yeah. You consensus on that, Todd?
Well, I don't know. I'm just marveled by this Night Rider thing. Sorry, guys. I'm like I'm just phased out here for a bit here. I'm just like looking at this. The Night Rider is very cool, actually.
But it's crazy how far lights have come, how fast.
Oh yeah.
Because like, so I mentioned last week about dog sledding. I'm gonna mention it again this week. We used to use lights also, and the best light that I had at the time looked like those old style doctor stethoscopes.
Yes,
you know, like
it's like a bulb.
Yeah, like just a big round shiny thing on your head. But the battery pack was 6 D cells. Like, and in the cold, how long would that last? Like maybe a couple hours.
Yeah.
So like you had to carry 2, for sure. So like you're carrying a dozen D cell batteries in your jacket.
Put all the weight, like on a bike. That's more than a bike frame.
Yeah.
The dogs are pulling it.
But just as I was getting out of dogs, all of this stuff came out, and like I could only really, with the best light that I had, I could only really see up to just behind my lead dogs. So like I basically had to trust that they knew that we were going to turn, and they would turn like maybe 60 feet.
Yeah,
was all I could see.
That.
No, these things here, like double that.
Yeah. No, it's
easy.
So we would use these Geminis. So there wasn't a 2200 when I first got these Geminis. It was actually I think it was a 1500.
I think that's the one that I have. I got the single.
With the no, you have the Olympia, which is a different light.
Oh,
Mine was still a Duo, but it was like a square battery, and it was like not the new ones are USB-C rechargeable. Anyways, the switches and stuff. My old one doesn't have any of that. We were riding DH with it, so you're riding like DH at night, and not even remotely close to or outrunning my lights. That's why when I was talking to people more recently, and they're like, "No, dude, like I need a bar light too." And I'm like, "For what? What are you riding?" But like, I get it. Some people just want to like have a little more light, a little more security. It makes sense, right? It does make sense. More light is always better, right? It's always better, unless you're trying to save watts, because it does add weight. But I'm kind of with them on that. I think like more light is better, but these things are freaking bright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
They are.
they're very ample.
Mm-hmm.
Very ample. And you can't outrun the speed of light. Just saying.
Just hey man,
Just put
speak
it
for
out there.
yourself. Speak
Buddy,
for
I ride
yourself.
pretty fast. I don't know.
So otherwise, on the note of lights, I mean, charging the lights, make sure accessories are always super, super important. So with any light, you want to make sure that a lot of the small parts and stuff are available, because it's electronics, right? And things happen, and more importantly than that, you'll lose pieces, right? The amount of like little batteries I've lost, or the freaking extension cables, for the life of me, I lose those all the time. What's that?
Mounts.
Yeah.
Mounts.
No, the little rubber mounts are good because you can probably find just
Elastics.
O-rings, elastics,
Yeah,
and stuff.
because that's a lot of them are just like a curved piece that sit on top of like they're built basically to go on a handlebar if you ever wanted it to, and then the mount that goes on your helmet has like a little piece that's just like a little circle cylinder, and you slide the O-ring around it. It's nice and easy.
Except when you have the helmets like we've got with all the honeycomb in them, and you
Yes.
can't get.
So that's an important thing I guess we can talk about. Also,
The
on
straps to
lights
your helmet.
is helmets. So on your helmet, guys, you need to make sure
You buy a Smith.
You buy a Smith. Yeah, a quick little plug to Smith here. But like,
Did I say that out loud? Subconsciously?
just a little bit.
Oh, really? Just a little bit?
Yeah, like the
Looking
Smiths.
for some brand
Yeah, just a little bit.
brand
Yeah,
recognition
FGB
here.
Todd.
Come on, Smith.
Yeah. So Smith, Cali does this as well. Has used to, not anymore. They used to have like a mount, and I think you have that on
I
yours,
do,
right? So
yeah.
it slots in, and it kind of clips in place, and you can mount your lightweight on top of it. Same as Smith, the forefront has that. They have a little clip that's built in. You can pop out, and you pop your light mount. It's actually integrated.
Clips
into your
sold
helmet.
separately.
Yeah. So sorry, just a little bit. But the thing you got to remember with helmets is if you can imagine those like super aero road helmets where there's like no vents at all and it's like all closed off, you can't put a light mount on that. You can't. You need to find some kind of adhesive mount to stick on it.
I'm just picturing those guys in the velodrome with those like big swoopy ones
Yeah.
with a light on the
The
front.
light on the front of the velodrome at night, right? Like next level.
Yeah, just
like
getting your laps
velodrome
in.
I lost 3.2 watts.
Yeah, you would definitely lose the watts with the light, though. You definitely would. When they're putting the cranks on the other side of the bike to try to gain watts, and then you've got a light on your head, you lose watts. That's for sure. But with that said, even with so the Colroyd, which is what you were talking about, which is like these little honeycomb things inside the helmet, in like where the normal vents would be, those things would disrupt a mount from going through. Another one that was brought up more recently is Mips. So the new Mips, which is spherical Mips, so Mips being a liner inside the helmet that can move around, the spherical ones, it's actually like your helmet, if you can imagine the like thickness of your helmet, it's cut in half, and then they put the Mips in there. So instead of it being a liner, it's actually in the middle of the helmet. So the middle of the helmet kind of swivels on itself. But if that's the case, there is no way you can run a helmet strap through
Yeah,
it.
you can't lock it
And if
through
you
'cause
put
you'll fuck up your...
Exactly. Like,
You'll mess up your...
well, you would totally ruin
Yeah.
your Mips. Like
Yeah.
you would never, like you could never, you won't get any of the benefits of the Mips. And like I'm sure Bell and all those companies don't really want you doing that. So making sure you have the right helmet to run it is definitely a pretty good feature there. Are there accessories and stuff for lights, guys, that you use?
Pro tip on the helmet is a lot of people I've seen on the visor, so they'll drill a little hole or do something so it actually goes on your visor,
That's smart.
and then you're not worried about messing up your Mips or trying to get the Velcro strap around, because it never really holds that great, and your lights like bobbling around like
That's a good idea. Just drill it onto the visor.
Yeah, so you put it on the visor, but not every helmet has the space underneath, so you kind of have to
make it work.
Yeah, GoPro mounts also, they work, and some of them have the adhesives that you can stick around your visor.
But you need to have, so this is a good thing for the Hope Light, the one that we don't have here, but the Hope Light does its GoPro mount. So instead of having the like regular bar mount that these guys have, it's all like GoPro mount style, because you can get those. You can just buy suction cups that stick on GoPro mounts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice, but unfortunately, like these guys, you would have a hard time finding an adhesive.
Yeah, but see, like the one that I have, the Gemini that I have, just trying to think now, it slides into a GoPro mount. Like the one that I have, it's got like 2 inward facing feet, front and back, and it slides onto the mount that was on the Cali visor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's super good.
I wish that they would continue that.
Yeah, in Cali, like Cali hasn't continued that either. Cali hasn't had any. Like I'm looking here, we have one left of the slotted ones, but the rest of them now don't have the slots, which is kind of a shame. But because we use them quite a bit. I mean, you gotta keep in mind too, guys. Like this is a very small market. There's a lot of people who have never ridden at light at night with lights and all that kind of stuff, because they just ride during the day. But like here, I mean, it's dark now. It gets dark immediately.
It's dark at 3:30 in the afternoon.
So you have to ride it.
Winter in Canada.
Yeah. So. Otherwise, I mean, the last thing I want to hit on making sure, so if you're going to get a light that's going to be, maybe a little bit questionable, maybe a little bit subpar, is be incredibly careful charging it. That's something we have a friend who's an electrician, and he was saying he charges his in a frying pan.
Yeah, didn't said electrician also buy an Amazon light, and he had to pretty much resolder everything?
Yeah, resolder everything. That's what I'm saying. He says yes. No, the lights are fine. You just have to take them apart and resolder the whole thing. So
if you're an electrician, don't be afraid to buy a light on Amazon. Was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, Amazon. No point in hiding the vendor. And so if you have the skills to rebuild it and do all that stuff, hey, go ahead. You can get a light for $19.99.
Yeah, you can get it pretty cheap.
Yeah.
But the problem is like you got to be real careful. Whenever you're dealing with like, especially the amount of power that's going through these lights, and you're charging that battery. When it's on your bike, that's one thing, because it's not gonna. If the light's on fire and it's on your bike, you're gonna see it. But like if you leave it plugged in, unattended, beside your desk. And you wake up in the middle of the night because your desk's on fire. Just like be super careful, right?
Yeah.
Like know that going into it. This guy was saying like he puts it in a little pan so that like if it did light on fire, it's at least semi-contained. I think it's a little excessive, but like just keep these things in mind when you're buying like from maybe not super reputable companies, because there's some pretty shady lights out there and there's some pretty like cheap stuff. We get that all the time. We get a lot of questions like that all the time.
Well, I think the takeaway is they're cheap for a reason.
Absolutely.
And going through that, when I did the unwrapping the second time of the Night Rider, you do see the quality of the cables. They're thick, that you can tell that they can move around and go in your bag, and you're not going to worry about things fraying. So the build quality of the Night Rider, like I've never opened one up, and I'm glad I did, because it is pretty good. And that's what you're paying that extra money for those types of things too, right? So looking at that, that will be a light you have for a long, long time.
For forever, right? Like
that's a forever light. So
exactly.
Like you bring up a good point too, like the flexibility in the cable. If you don't get like that kind of rubberized plastic that stays, flexible, pliable, whatever in the cold, you go and you put your light on or whatever, and you end up bending your cable too much. Now you've cracked it, possibly broken a wire,
and making sure at that point that you can get replacement parts, right? Like that's like we stock. So we do most of the lights we do here are the Geminis. We do a lot of the Night Riders now too, so we stock a lot of their accessories. Magic Shine's new to us, so we're getting that. But like the Duos we stock, like I stock batteries, I stock chargers, I stock extension cables, so like if something does go wrong, because it will, like at the end of the day, guys, it's electronics, like these are not infallible things, like they do have issues, and when something does go, because it will, you just come step by and we got them, and they're also distributed by a semi-local guys that we deal with quite often, and they're pretty good service. So if you have any issues, they try to get it dealt with on the warranty end, which is nice too, right? Like there's a value to that as well.
Yeah, because my Gemini, I got a cable fray. I mean, I've got a cable fray. I've used it for 3 years, so that's pretty good. And then sometimes it actually works better in a cold because it cools down. Sometimes
it gets hot.
It's gotten hot. So
and
it does that. It does it when you stop. So what Gemini is saying is, don't effing stop. Go, because I need the air to keep me cool. So it's really fast, just really a feture to not be lazy.
Yeah, it's a feature.
It's a feature. It's not a problem. It's a feature. Okay.
So I guess one last thing here, guys. We did get a question about it. How many lumens? So assuming that lumens are like roughly in the where they should be, how many lumens light do you think someone needs for trail riding? Like if you're gonna go fat biking, you're gonna ride single track in the summer. How many lumens is enough lumens?
Honestly, in the wintertime, you can get away with 1,000. You can get away with 1,000 in the winter because of the snow. In the summer, 1,000 just gets sucked up. So you might as well buy a 2,000 plus, because then you're good year round. You don't have to worry about a summer light, a winter light. And so 2 is overkill. Like in the winter, I have on the lowest setting, my Gemini all the time, because you don't need it. So, but I have the extra when you need it in the fall and in the spring. So, I'd say your starting point is 2,000.
Yeah, I'd agree. Honestly, about there. Anything above it, keeping in mind that you get like a reputable light at 2,000, because there's some pretty shitty $2,000 lumen lights out there that like just don't have the proper output. But yeah, at about 2,000, I feel like. And I've never thought about the winter thing, but that is true. For the most part, I just run mine on high all the time and try to eat everyone else's lights. But no, I get what you're saying. What about you, Evan?
Yeah, same thing. I agree.
About 2,000?
Yep.
That makes sense. Any things to add, guys? Any other...
But if you have 4,000, you've got an extra 2,000 to brag about to your buddies.
That's exactly it. It really is a measuring contest at that point. Who's got the biggest
how much
light?
Carbon and how many lumens you got? Oh, you're subpar, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
2,000 carbon bars only.
Let me go behind you. Yeah, best of luck.
You're not even allowed to ride with us, pal.
So yeah, I guess that's it, guys.
Yep.
So I guess that's it. We do have lights in stock if everyone is looking. If you have questions about lights, please reach out. But that's it, guys. That's episode number 26 of the Sessions with Sessions podcast. Hopefully this YouTube thing's working. Hopefully this comes out with YouTube video. If it does, please send us a comment. Please comment on the video. Give us a thumbs up or whatever you think you do on YouTube. We're learning it. We're figuring it out. It will get better as we go, we promise. But, I mean, I guess that's it, guys, from everyone over here. And have fun out there.
All right.
Okay.
Until next time, everyone.
See ya.
Bye for now.